Brown Swanson, still sheltering in place here in California, bringing you Scoop Manchester virtually with my co-host, the one and only Erika Brown, the publisher of the Manchester Cricket, who's in her office in Manchester by the Sea. How are you doing?
Hey, Liz. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great now that I'm checking in with you. And, weeks into the pandemic, things keep changing. But I'd love for you to give a little scene setter how life is in Manchester by the Sea right now.
Well, there's a lot going on right now because we're kind of changing towards summer. And I think we talked about this the last time, that as you begin to kind of get peaks into nicer and nicer days, the boards, the town hall is trying to brace and public safety. They're trying to anticipate that people are going to want to come out and go to and congregate. And they've been trying to get ahead of that. And then the governor extended the stay at home, the sheltering at home kind of mandate, the state of emergency from the 4th of May to the 18th of May. And so now what's been going on for the last week or two has been all of the public safety officials and the boards are trying to now put in specific planning for what's going to happen on May the 19th, the day after the sheltering at home edict has been lifted. So what that means is all the towns, Manchester's going to lift its state of emergency. And now there's going to be this kind of staged, kind of phased approach to come back. And it's funny, the meeting that was, this week, the Board of Selectmen met, and you got to see the first taste of what people are now starting to think of, the camps. Like one of the questions that went to Eli Bowling, who, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and it was from a gentleman, I don't know who it was. It was on a Zoom call, but I didn't see who it was, and I don't know who it was. But he said he started off his question by saying they were talking about opening up Singing Beach, which is part of the phased approach. And he said, you guys are doing a great job, blah, 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 all this positive stuff. But then he said, is it legal for the Board of Selectmen to tell me that I can't go wherever I want to go? And Eli Bowling gave him a pretty swift and respectful schooling about the fact that when you do a state of emergency, it is not overstepping for the Board of Selectmen to say, you may not go. The public can't go onto these parks and onto these beaches. But now people are saying, come on, once you raise the state of emergency, what's the phased approach?
Right.
It's happening now. So Singing Beach is now going to be sort of phased in. The parks are going to be lifted. The boat ramps were already fine. They were already open, so they don't need to be changed. But that's what we're looking at.
So, well, yeah, that's exciting news. And of course, we're still trying to balance, safety and making sure we keep flattening that curve. And so in terms of town right now, do you have to keep your mask on in public? What are some of the rules there? Because and a lot of people say even legally, can you make me wear my mask? I mean, so yeah. What's going on with just protocols to keep safety up? Are things changing? I mean, we know the safe distancing requirements in public places. Is that still going on right now? And today, of course, we're recording on May 8th, so it changes every day, it feels like.
It does change every day, and I think masks are not required in public. But the governor here has mandated that masks be worn inside any public building or any place of business. So people, it's funny, you see this, I don't know if you see this out in California, but you see this sort of fashion thing where people are kind of holding their masks on, but they keep them around their neck and then they just raise them or lower them based on where they are. So you see people around town, if they're walking outside, some people are wearing masks, some people aren't. Everyone seems to be adhering and respecting to social distancing. Manchester's been really, I don't think we've had a new case in quite a while. We've been really largely very stable in a good way. And I think that's been chalked up to the fact that everyone has stayed cool, been respectful. For the most part, there haven't been any big problems, which is really fantastic. Mm-hmm. And so now they're just looking for what are the rules of engagement for when we do come out, and especially as we look to the summer, I think every town is doing this, is you're looking forward to the things that you're planning, 4th of July parade, all the things that we're looking forward to. What are they going to look and feel like? So that's the 375th. It's all sorts of things.
And speaking of the 375th, since you're bringing that up, and I want to still get back to the reopening process for the town, was there just a community spirit parade that was organized by the 375th committee? That must have been nice to have something like that to honor the first responders. Can you just tell me what happened with that?
Yeah, that's the third thing that the 375th committee has done to honor the kind of first responders. On Wednesday, early in the morning, to coincide with the turning of the shifts to the 7 a.m., kind of right after the 7 a.m. started, for police. And it was also a National Nurses Day, which I think they were also really wanted to do. Everybody met at the high school. It was a parade around town of vehicles. So Tom Keogh was there, Sue Thorne was there, Sue Parker was there, and they were giving away balloons and signs that you can put in your yard to say thank you. And everyone showed up, and then they had a police escort to go all around town. They went up Pleasant Street, down Pine Street, through Central Street, and they snaked all around town. It was really nice.
Nice. Well, I think that the community has come together in so many levels, right? Like, you've been covering this pandemic now for weeks. And I wondered if you had sort of what your interpretation is of how the community the toll it's sort of taken, and how the community is weathering through it.
I think that in the beginning, the town was kind of like every town, sort of a little, what does this mean? Deer in the headlights, almost, to say, okay, what does it mean? I felt like that was, for the paper, that was the case. I literally found myself saying, what is right for what I should be doing? Because there was no history book, there's no playbook on what to do before then. And I think everyone was in the same place, and the town certainly was. And, and I know that, they just really made it a point, every board, and by boards, I mean the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Health, those were the two primary ones. And then in conjunction with Todd Fitzgerald, the chief of police, it was almost as if that was a triangle of just a team that would meet very, very regularly and keep their ears open and to get a lot of information from the state and from Governor Baker, who just did an amazing job. Senator Tarr was huge, and people just come in. And in the end, that kind of cooperation really, really kind of was, I think, what made it all great. I mean, we're still in the middle of it, but there's definitely a level of comfort now of kind of this, okay, we can do this now.
Let's talk about a town topic that's sort of been causing a little bit of controversy, which is going on right now, is the intersections where they're doing a complete streets project, in two of them in the middle of town. Will you kind of explain what's going on there?
Yeah, well, the Complete Streets program is a state grant, or it's a state program where they provide grant incentives to upgrade infrastructure in a town to optimize this idea of a vibrant downtown that is safe for pedestrians and bicyclists, basically. So make it a walking town. Has to do with speed, has to do with crosswalks, has to do with paths. It's a program that's been going on for a long time. Manchester had originally found like, I think 17 or 18 sites that conformed to the Complete Streets specifications. And in the end, they found 5. I think 2 years ago, they found 5 of them that they had said, okay, these are the ones we're going to go with. And they actually went with. And many of them turned out to be controversial because they were downtown, and they would, in the redesign, first of all, people thought they were overbuilding them, that they were turning them into crosswalks that were better suited for a busy downtown in a large city and not a small town like Manchester. They seemed woefully overbuilt for the purpose. Like, we had many people saying, why don't you just repaint the crosswalks? But the other thing was, and this was the real hot spot, the danger of removing parking spots downtown where businesses really need them to be vital. We really depend on it. Seemed insensitive. And at the time when they first became controversial, they were controversial because the business owners, the retailers downtown in particular, they felt as if no one had really communicated with them before this train had left the station. And about a year ago, the town really did try to reach out, and successfully did. They had a dialogue going with, you know, all sorts of constituencies, and the designers for the project took those things into account when they did a redesign. And the redesign that they ended up settling with was a compromise between what retailers wanted and what the safety proponents of the, you know, people who really wanted bicycling downtown and walking downtown, big safety advocates. And then they went ahead and started the construction project on them within the last couple of weeks during the quiet time of COVID, which you could argue was the better time to do it because there wasn't a lot of traffic. It's the best time to do a construction project. Here's the problem. The construction that happened was not the construction that was specified in the design. And that has really turned out to have a lot of problems associated with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a committee member from the Downtown Improvement Committee who is going to join us. Well, it's so great to have joining us Carly Cook. She's all things Manchester. Thank you for being here. How are you doing, Carly?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we really wanted you to join us because I know you're on the Downtown Improvement Committee, so thank you for serving the community like you do. And as you know, the Complete Streets project that's happening in town right now has caused a bit of a stir. So I want you to kind of explain what was going on with that project and just a little history and why you think there's so much concern.
So I got involved in the Downtown Improvement Projects Committee back when we did the trial run of the roundabout in town. I thought it was a strange idea in such a small space. My car didn't fit over it. I walked down there and watched it, you know, with real vehicles. It was a disaster. So that was when I decided I wanted to be involved in on that committee. Of all committees in town, I chose that one. I know that it was it's a frowned upon committee, I think, because of the changes they're looking to make. So we've been working to get a couple of projects in town passed. There's 3 of them right now, or 2 of them have just been completed, and then the one at C and Summer Street. So
So what was the point of the project?
It's to make the streets safer for pedestrians, bicyclists, drivers, and to slow the pace of traffic in town. Make sight lines improved as well, which I think we fell short for sure in front of the beach and Union Street project, unfortunately. I also don't think that maybe the plans for the School Street and Central Street came to fruition as planned either.
I was just going to clarify that when I got involved, with the paper, I mean, the Complete Streets program has been going on for a long time. It's a state program and provides funding and planning for kind of to build communities through planning, and by communities, it puts a premium on walking and having downtown communities, especially that are walkable, bikeable, safe, but also, and it's designed to buoy up and the community and the traffic and make downtowns a vibrant place, but also very safe. And there's this idea that there's going to be a lot of walking and da-da-da. And so it provides planning for things like bringing crosswalks up, providing access and the like. And the roundabout project that Carly was just talking about is at the end of Pine Street. It's where Pine Street meets Bridge Street, right? Bridge and Central, those 3. And it was a small space, and it was kind of one of the more higher profile failures in terms of planning, but then they moved on to this Complete Streets. And when I first got involved with it, Carly, it was a year ago in January, and it was when the downtown businesses caught wind of these intersections would remove parking, and they felt like they hadn't been listened to. And the Downtown Improvement Committee was the first committee that met after everyone caught wind. And so there was this meeting at the, I think it was at Seaside 1 in the morning, like on a Tuesday morning or something. And I think all the committee members were surprised that so many people showed up There was a ton of people. And then they had a meeting the following month. It was a Chamber of Commerce had their Manchester division meeting at the Trask House. And all of the retailers showed up, and it was with the chief of police. It was Ed Conley at the time. It was Greg Fetterspiel was there. Eli Bowling was there, along with all the businesses. And they were able to talk about complete streets. And it was the first time that, you know, people showed up and talked about parking and the impact and all that stuff. It came to the fore.
It does.
What do you think the concern is now, Erika, as someone that's reporting on what's going on? Do you have a feel for that? What the concern is?
I think that there is, okay. We have Chuck Dam, who is the head of the DPW, who has been overseeing the execution of these plans. He actually is the one he's left holding the practical bag. He's the one who actually has to oversee the actual construction of making these projects happen. And when they showed up, they realized that the conditions that the drawings were created on didn't exist in real life, and he had to change it on the fly. And so suddenly we have this design that doesn't conform with what was, the execution that doesn't conform with what was designed. And I think it caused some problems. Gar Morse, who's on the committee with you, Carly, he sent in a letter to the editor this week saying, you know, there's a lot of improvement to be made in the planning and the process for next time. And I think that Chris Shea has stepped away from the board. He's the former owner of the 7 Central, and I think he was really involved and had this practical knowledge because one of these intersections was right in front of one of his old restaurants for years and years. He's very, very intimately involved with the day-to-day issues and challenges of one of these crosswalks.
Right.
And so that's what's going on right now.
Both of them are, and I can understand where they're coming from in terms of, one question that I have that, you know, is how did they not understand that these changes would need to be made prior to going into the field and actually making them? So I feel like that's where my disappointment is right now, is that as well as we didn't execute the project as expected. Yeah. And after that town meeting where everybody was opposed to it in the first place, this is something where we really should be going out and providing what is promised. If we've gone through such diligence as we really have,
Well, in the real world, if you pay somebody to come up with designs and the designs aren't practical, they're not able to be implemented, do you pay that person? I mean,
right. And exactly. It's.
But the buck stops at town hall. In the end, you make sure that who you're vetting and hiring is capable of doing the work, and you oversee that. That's what you're paying to have done. I think, not to walk away from this subject and move on, but the takeaways going forward. I mean, the project's near completion, or they're putting in landscaping, and let's hope in the end it does encourage and help with safety and improve access for pedestrians, because we can't. I'm a business owner downtown. I'm not just thinking about me. I'm concerned about parking. Was a space? Are we reducing spaces by this project? I'm still not even clear. Like, I think they're.
I'm not clear either at this point.
I think they. I mean, on paper, legal spaces, they haven't changed. They're the same number of legal spaces.
Well, I appreciate all your sharing what's going on. And I'm going to switch gears because, Carly, we brought you in for your involvement with the Downtown Improvement Committee, but also I know you're on the 375th, you're on the sustainability. And on top of it all, as you manage your wonderful kids, you've got a food distribution program going on during the pandemic. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So on Tuesdays, we have there's a delivery that comes, Johnny's Produce, I believe his name is. And last week we got 175 boxes delivered. Everyone comes and picks them up. Plus there was the added bonus that everyone has been so kind and been donating. So we've also, this week we had, I think, 28 donation boxes that we were able to give to people in town, which has been great.
And I said, you said you're bringing food to the hospital workers and frontline workers, right? You're doing all that?
Yeah, so that's different. That's something with Michelle Gavin and I have been just teamed up, and we've taken some donations from people in town. We're using local restaurants to deliver food to frontline responders. So today we actually, from Beth from Bravo, we paired up with her. This is our second time there, and we got some ice cream and delivered it to Beverly Hospital. So it's great.
So I know that you have these boxes are filled with fruits and vegetables. You don't have a name. I was calling it Operation Eggplant, but no. But the idea is that these are fruits and vegetables that normally would be sold to restaurants, but they're not open, or they're just so limited in what they're able to sell right now. So you're filling a lot of holes for people.
Yeah, and Christina Cunningham, who is actually my neighbor up the street, I didn't know her before this, but she's been taking the orders and she facilitates all of that, which is a tremendous amount of work. And then we just have the delivery here, and everyone seems really appreciative, and everyone's been great about it.
If anyone wants to order a box of fruits and vegetables, I know you said you're pretty much might be even at capacity with people being able to get deliveries. Should they reach out to you to find out, or
they could reach out to me or Christina Cunningham, but also the Laughing Gull downtown is also doing the same. They're doing deliveries as well. You can buy it at the restaurant and then take it home. So I think, which is another great option.
All right. Well, keep doing what you're doing, Carly, and look forward to seeing you when I'm back in town.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to continue our conversation just about how downtown Manchester is going to reopen safely. As you know, I own a store in town. We've been closed through the pandemic for safety reasons, of course, but as we look to reopening, what are the conversations you're hearing from business owners right now?
I think they're having a really hard time. I think they have been better than most, by the way. I think in other towns it's worse, but I think it's a real challenge for businesses to sort of make it through this. I'm not sure that the SBA has been the dream that everyone promised them it would be. I know that there are efforts at Town Hall to kind of help the downtown businesses in whatever way they can. They're still in the middle of the surveying period of time. I know that Gloucester just announced a program where the municipality was going to give out $10,000 grants to small businesses in Gloucester to help them. And hopefully Manchester will see something that's similar to that. But retailers are trying to be creative. We just came off of Mother's Day, and a lot of retailers, as you know, did some really creative things to just sort of get it out, And I think that there's a lot of interests in residents wanting to help their neighbors downtown. So as things open up, hopefully, I think people have to sort of take it as it comes. We'll have to sort of take it kind of week by week, but we should have a partial opening as soon as in the next couple of weeks, and people will start opening up. The question on what is going to happen with restaurants is TBD. Are they going to be allowed to be opened at 50% capacity or at 25% capacity and then roll those up? Those are the kinds of things that people are thinking about. But in terms of retailers downtown, I think we're going to start seeing an opening up pretty soon, and they're going to look for the retailers to just adhere to social distancing, but no different than anybody else adhering to social distancing, right? And hopefully we'll be getting back to normal.
Like when you look at the essential businesses that have been open, like Crosby's downtown, markets that people are shopping in, they have, you stick to 6 feet, and I'm sure our smaller shops will be able to figure out a way so that we can continue serving. But you're right, everyone's been creative with, curbside pickup arrangements. And I want to thank you at the Cricket. I know with your paper's been so great, the newspaper, of trying to help promote business. And you're doing it complimentary, which is amazing because you are a business too, and you've got to keep the Cricket going. And I don't even know how you and your team are covering, because there's so much information out there right now that you're trying to put in, and I'm sure it's challenging. So hats off to you.
Thanks. But what I keep on remembering is the following, that when people talk about the beauty and why they love to live in Manchester, they're talking about the downtown. They're also talking about Singing Beach. They're also talking about our beautiful streets, but really the downtown life is what people love. And I try to tell people, imagine what the quality of life would be in our town if we didn't have that.
All right. We always do this every Scoop Manchester. I always ask you, what's your favorite latest story you've got to cover, and your favorite local photo of the week? So let's go with the story.
Okay. My favorite story of the week is easy. It's the story of Chris Ware and Jennifer King, his wife. Chris Ware, as you know, grew up in Manchester. That's them right there. And we're calling this Where's Around the World, because they left in September for a sailing trip around the world. And he grew up, he learned how to sail when he was a kid at the Manchester Sailing Association in the summer, like many, many kids in Manchester. And they did a lot of planning, a lot of training, and then they left on their boat called Diva. And they sailed down New York, the coast, throughout the Caribbean. They ended up landing in Bonaire about a month ago, which is just off the coast of Venezuela, very famous for its scuba diving and its reefs. And they were just about to go, they got a visa in Bonaire to do that, and then they were just about to leave and go through the Panama Canal. They got their ticket or their permit to go through this Panama Canal at 2:30 in the afternoon, and 8:30 the next morning it was closed from COVID to all sailboats or all boats under 65 feet. So they've been stuck in Bonaire, and they wrote a great piece about it.
Well, we have to read that piece, and this is part of what you're calling a postcard series in the cricket?
Yeah, it was something that was started in the cricket in the 1920s, and it ran through, I want to say the 70s. It wasn't called Postcards Home, but it was this idea that somebody would write home. They'd go on a trip. It was a travel piece, but it really felt more like a letter home, and they would run it in the cricket. It started with the first editor and publisher, I.M. Marshall, who he would travel to like Russia and Denmark. And he went to the Olympics in 1932 in Los Angeles. And every time he would write an article about it, and then he would start it, Dear Folks Back Home. And they would always run on the front page. So we relaunched it in January called Postcards Home. And the first one we did was Christy King took a spectacular trip to Kenya late last year, and she wrote a beautiful piece on it. But then when COVID hit, it was kind of weird to think what's a travel piece going to be like now? You know, what's traveling like?
I think we just do a postcard from Rancho Palos Verdes.
Oh my God, please do. Because honestly, I don't want it to be just big, ambitious trips. I want it to be road trips and smaller things and things that are a little closer to, you know, like normal, like that feel more normal. But that said, when I thought about the Wares, and I thought, my gosh, how are they doing? And he wrote a really great piece home on, and it was fascinating to read it. So I hope you enjoy it.
We now have to wrap it up, but you have to tell us about your favorite photo.
Okay, my favorite photo is there's a Manchester Essex Regional Middle School art teacher has created, Tina Doherty created the Getty Museum that's out in California. They started this thing where they would get sheltering at home people would mimic famous works of art. And this week we have a great one. We're going to run them every week for the next several weeks. And Stella Straub, who is a middle schooler, she's in grade 7. She did a great piece that is my favorite this week. It's called Praying Dog. There it is.
Very, very nice.
There it is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. What a great, that's fabulous. All right. Well, listen, it's always great to communicate with you virtually, but I can't wait to see you in person, and just keep us posted. And thanks for all you're doing at the cricket. And we'll just wrap it up. And you just be safe and healthy. And I look forward to getting a video when people are on Singing Beach. So
we'll send it. Yes.
And I'll send you a
agree.
All right. Love to you. And that's going to do for this edition of Scoop Manchester. Be healthy and safe out there. Have a great day, everybody.